Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video. Still got some package to arrive in the post. Two of them did arrive this morning. My Famicom games finally arrived after what's been well over almost 2 months. And I've also got some Dragon 32 games that came in the post this morning. I've even got some vinyls that came in this morning. But I'm waiting for some more Dragon 32 games and also 2 Konami games for the MSX. They're loose cards only, but one of them I did pay a fair bit for. And I've also purchased some homebrew games for the MSX, so I'm hoping they'll arrive by next week. And once they arrive, what I'll do is I'll put it all into one pickups video, and it'll probably be the last pickup videos before replay in Blackpool, which I'm really looking forward to going. Hoping to meet up with some of you guys and stop for a chat. So yeah, so what I thought I'd do this time around is a collection video, and the PC Engine's been getting a lot of love lately, and thought I'd do an update on my PC Engine collection. For those that may know me, it's my favourite console of all time. I had got my first PC Engine way back in '89 on the grey market, because it never really got officially released here in the UK. So yeah, and it's been my favourite console of all time, even more than the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. Don't get me wrong, they are awesome systems. Even had a Japanese Mega Drive and Japanese Super Nintendo back in the day, but I've just always had the passion for the PC Engine. So there you go. So what I'll do is I'll show you the consoles that I have, and then show you the games afterwards. So without waffling on anymore, I'll show you the first console, and that is the PC Engine Turbo Duo R. It's in great condition. Now this belonged to a friend of mine who worked at Sega. He had this at his where he worked, because they were using it to test games. And when they no longer needed it, he very kindly gave it to me. So I'm really chuffed with that. Came along with the joypad. Just a little yellow there, but not too fussed really. Could sort something out there. If not, if I get too bothered about it, can just purchase another joypad on eBay. And I also got the multi-tap, because as you can see, it only has just the one joystick port, and that allows you to connect up to 5 joypads. Games that come to mind are Dungeon Explorer and Motorola. So yeah, I've had that since 98 or 99. That's when he gave it to me. Really chuffed for that. And I did own the original white one back in the day. I had 2 of them, but of course sold them on. And then I got this one, and up until when was it? Maybe 6 or 7 years. That was my only system that I had, and then eventually I got on eBay, purchased the Supergraph. It's in lovely condition. Also came with the joypad, also fine joypad, great condition. The only thing it's missing is oh, actually no, because I replaced them. They were missing the original rubber feet, but I since replaced them. But other than that, it's in great condition, and it is boxed. I purchased this on eBay for about £135 from a store in London called Raven Games, and I do believe they're the same Raven Games that I used to purchase some of my PC Engine games back in the day. As you can see, it's boxed. It comes with instructions. The box does show its age, but other than that, it's in good condition. So yeah, oops. So that's my Supergraph. I did have a Supergraph game. I think it was Ghouls and Ghosts. I think it was Ghouls and Ghosts, or no, it was 1943, because I know that one goes for a fair bit on eBay. I think it was Ghouls and Ghosts, so I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if I sold it on, as you do, to fund other games. So yeah, so that's my Supergraph. Then after that, I got the Turbo Express. Now I'm not going to take it out of the box, but as you can see, everybody should know what the Turbo Express looks like, or the GT as it was known in Japan. It's in immaculate condition, as you can see by the box itself. It's minty mint, and this one is actually modded to allow you to play Japanese and US games. Fantastic machine. Always wanted one back in the day. Of course, back in the day, there was the Game Boy and the Sega Game Gear, and this one came along, but it was very pricey. I mean, the Game Boy was going for what, about 80, 90 pounds, and the Game Gear going for about just over 100. This was going for about 200, if not 250. And because it wasn't officially released in the UK, some sellers were asking 250 for it, but it would normally just sell for 200. So I couldn't really afford it back then. So got this one a few years ago. Got it for about €200, including postage. I'm really pleased with it. Always wanted one. I'm even scared to use it because I might break it. But I'm really pleased with that. And then later on, if anybody knows John, aka the Stig, he was selling off some of his collections, and one of them was this, which is the official PC Engine that was released in Europe, TurboGrafx. Now, in the US it's called TurboGrafx 16, but they just knocked off the 16 and just simply called it the TurboGrafx. Now this is the PAL version. He did a really good deal on them for me. Came with some of those came with some games, which I'll show you obviously later, a little later on. And it's in wonderful condition. And here's the system on, which I've taken out of the box to show you guys. It's in beautiful condition. So again, many thanks John for selling it to me. As you can see, it's gone to a good home. Really pleased with it. Here's the joypad. Pretty much the same. Do have a couple more. Actually, I've got another multi-tap over here. I would like to get the black one actually. Another joystick there. Joypad, and then not too long ago, just put that aside over there. I purchased this on eBay, and it came with the joypad. It's in wonderful condition, no yellowing whatsoever. Got this I think for £95, including postage. As you can see, it's got the orange cover that most intend to lose or disappear. Most intend to come without it. I'm really pleased that it came along with that. And the joystick. And this one's actually again modded for US and Japanese HUE cards. So I'm really pleased with that. So as you can see, those are my consoles. And I'm hoping my goal for this year is to get an actual boxed Turbo Duro R. There is a Duro RX, which has the 6-button joypad for games like Street Fighter. I would love to get a boxed one, but they can go for a fair bit on eBay. 200, 250 including postage. But I'm hoping that's my goal for this year, to purchase one of those. And I would love to get one of the Core Grafx, the black one. So yeah, those are my consoles. Really pleased with them. As I said, it's my favourite console. Just so passionate with the PC Engine. So there you go. So I'll be back in a bit to show you the games that I have. God, what a plonker. Where is she? really are a bonk, aren't you? Anyway, go round! I'm gonna keep opening the bloody door for you. Anyway, back in a bit. Okay then, so moving on to the games themselves. In total, I've got 94 games, so there is quite a bit to go through, so I'll be as quick as I can. And 20 of them are games that I've had since the beginning when I first got my PC Engine back in '89. I was buying PC Engine games from '89 to about '94. Then the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation came onto the scene, and I stopped. I started collecting again for the PC Engine back in 2000. I had a friend of mine who went over to Japan, and of course he bought all sorts of games from various systems, of course including PC Engine. Bought a few back, and I bought some of them for a good price. So yeah. So I do believe I'm missing about 5 or 6 games. I've either left them behind at my parents' place in the UK, or sadly they've gotten lost in the transit when moving here to Portugal. But hey ho, I'll hopefully get them back at a later date. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll show you the original 20 games that I've had since the beginning. So first up we've got Galaga 88. Now the early cases didn't have any screenshots on the back. Some of the later ones did, so obviously when they I'll show you some of those. Next up, Audi. Chase HQ. I really like this game. A lot of people slag it off, but said it's a bit too hard or awkward, but I actually do like it, and I've completed numerous of times. Next up is Don Dokudon. Pretty much the same sort of style as Bubble Bubble, Parasite Stars, and New Zealand Story, also by Taito. A really fun game, 2 players also. I did get Don Dokudon 2 not too long ago for the Famicom, but that's more sort of 2D platform. But yeah, great game. Next up, Dragon Spirit. Again, another good game from the arcade. Next up, Gradius, or Nemesis to some. Fantastic version of the arcade. Next up is Parodius. Awesome game, I've completed this so many times. I do believe there's screenshots on the back of this one. As you can see there. Fantastic game. Next up, Twin Bee. There we go. Another great game. I also mentioned that the Konami games, I do have, there we go. It's got Life Force or Salamander. As I was going to say, the Konami titles for the PC Engine also had that same cheat trick where, like the NES, where you up, down, left, right, A, B or BA. That also worked with Konami games on the PC Engine. In this case, for these games, you get full power ups. So yeah. Next up, Aero Blasters. Excellent 2D shoot 'em up, 2 players. It's also available on the Mega Drive. I do have it on a Mega Drive, but both versions are great versions of the arcade. In the arcade, this was actually called Air Buster. It was developed by Kineko, but in the arcade it was released by Namco. Fantastic game on both systems, and also the arcade version. I do also have the soundtrack to this on original CD. I love this game. Again, I've completed it so many times. Next up is one of the pinnacle of PC Engine shoot 'em ups, and that's Gunhead. Now this is not the original casing, I'm afraid. I did lose it, but everything else is still intact. Fantastic shoot 'em up. One of the first games that I got for the PC Engine. Next up, Final Soldier. Another great shoot 'em up. Overhead shoot 'em up. Pretty much the same sort of style as Gunhead. Next up is the sequel to Chase HQ, SCI, Special Criminal Investigations. Another good ports of the arcade. That's the thing with the PC Engine, they had so many great ports of some of the arcade games back in the day. Excellent. Next up, Final Lap Twin. Power Drift. Again, this gets slated a lot, but I do like this game. Pretty fair port of the arcade. I have it on the Sega Saturn, so I'm not too fussed with that really. They're both great versions. Oh God, she wants to come in. We have to wait. Next up, Mr. Heli. Fantastic game by Iron. And all these games could be bought fairly cheaply, from about, some can go for us £10 to about £30. Next up, Image Fight. Ninja Spirit. Oh, she has a couple of screenshots there. See that there? Camera gets some focus. There we go. Great game. Legend of Hero Tonma. Fantastic game. 2D platformer. Plays very similar, you know, it sort of reminds me of Willow by Capcom. Fantastic game. Next up, what was considered to be the PC Engine mascot, and that's PC Kid. And this is PC Kid 2. Now I did have number 1, but I presume that's one of the yeah, it looks like I seem to have lost that one. No real hurry to get that, but definitely a great collection to there's PC Kid 1, 2, and then there's 3. So yeah, awesome 2D platformers. Next up, no, those are the games that I originally had from back in the day. Now this next lot of games that I've originally had sold but have rebought, has since rebought. And first up is Batman. Fantastic game. An overhead sort of maze game. I remember back in the day getting this at the same time with Batman on the Mega Drive. Played the hell out of both games. Awesome they are. Next up is Kato-chan and Ken-chan, or simply known as in the US as Chan and Chan, which is very much, it plays very similar to the Wonder Boy series. Excellent game, can be bought very cheaply. Next up, 2D shoot 'em up called W Ring. Excellent little shooter. Completed it so many times. This can be bought for about £24 to £35. It doesn't always come up on eBay, not easy to get hold of. Next up, Pac-Land. Very good port off the arcade. Fantasy Zone. Ultimate Tiger, or sometimes known as Tiger Heli. So these were the games I've rebought since. Now these are the games, or the next lot of games I've been buying since what, 2000. First up, Xevious. Bought this one recently, Paranoia. World Thief, which is sort of an update version of Kicks on the Atari 400, 800 computers. This one's hard to translate or to say. It's called Gobbe Tomadun Kanoni. Now this is the sequel. The first one was had two sections of the game. One was an overhead, and then it had a hacking slash section. But with this one, they've taken away the overhead section and just left it as a hack and slash game. Some screenshots there. Next up, a game that I bought recently, Toilet Kids. An overhead shooter, which basically involves shit. It's a great game. It can be pricey sometimes on eBay. I've seen it sometimes go for £65, £75, but I was lucky to get this for £39. Really chuffed to get this into collection. I've been wanting to get this for a very long time, but it just with the high prices on eBay, just couldn't really afford it. Next up is Doraemon. It's a pretty cool overhead sort of crate maze game. In the US, it's called Crater Maze. Next up is a game called Geisha Boy, which basically you're this little chap here, and the whole purpose of the game is you've got to take photographs to impress the boss to obviously progress to the next level, next stage. As you can see there, you got the DeLorean there from Back to the Future, and up here somewhere is, there we go, bit of ET there. Some screenshots on the back. See that there's your boss. So checking out to see whether your photos is good enough. A really fun, quirky game, typical Japanese style. By Iron. Nice little cover there. I paid $50 for that. Can be pricey sometimes. Next up, Garumba, an early Namco game. Next up, this one I've always called, does have another name, but I've always called it, or it is sometimes known as Tales of the Monster Path. Next up, Splatterhouse. Fantastic portal of the arcade. Definitely worth checking out, but this one goes for about £40. Next up is Shoku Tyson, which is more known as Cloudmaster. Loved this back in the day on the Sega Master System. Some screenshots on the back. I would like to get all the versions to this game. Obviously there's PC Engine, there's Master System, there's a Famicom version. There's a Famicom version, there's the MSX version. I do believe there's also the Sharp 68000, the X computers. It must be pricey. I know that the MSX version goes for about £130 to £50, and it's disc based. So yeah. Anyway, next up, FE Unit. Another fun 2D shooter, side scrolling. It's also available on the Mega Drive. I do prefer the Mega Drive version, but it's still fun on the PC Engine. Can be bought quite cheaply on eBay, £15 to £20. Next up, a little overhead puzzle game called B-Ball. Cutie cover there. Next up, it's Martian Maze. Okay, this is an arcade game. Ported really well to the PC Engine. These along. Okay. Next up, Space Area. A fair port of the arcade. the best, but it's still fun. Still worth adding to the collection. Outrun. I know Tutor UK picked this up recently. Legendary Axe 2, although there's no axe inside as he's carrying a sword. Really fun hack and slash there. Next up, Shinobi, a really good port of the arcade. I did originally own just a loose cart, and I got this with a trade with Lawn Post 1975. Really pleased to have that in my collection. Next up, another shoot 'em up called Raviolipas. As you can see there, Emmy Star looking girl there on a bunny. Really hard, this one, but cheap to get hold of. It's an arcade pool game called Break In. I did play a similar. It actually was by date because this is by Date East. But that's Soft released it. But there is one on the Wonder Swan, which I played quite a bit. Pretty much the same thing. That's pretty cheap. I think I only got that for about £3 or £4. Next up, prequel to Devil Crash, which again one of the ones that I've lost and I need to get back into the collection, and that is Alien Crush. Not too long ago, we did get an update on the Wii console. Definitely worth checking that out. Another shoot 'em up, Saint Dragon, fantastic port of the arcade. But I played it a lot back in the day on the Amiga. Again, that was a very good port of the arcade. Next up, Vigilante. Pretty cool on the Sega Master System too. Sequel to Dragon Spirit, Dragon Saber. Another good port of the arcade, Operation Wolf. Very cool cover there. Toy Shop Boys, an overhead shooter, pretty much the same sort of style as Toilet Kids. But this one actually sort of reminds me more of a sort of toy kiddie version of Raiden. They play very much the same sort of in the same style. Definitely worth checking out if you can get that cheap. Next up, Soldier Blade, the final in the series, in the Soldier series. And this one can fetch quite a fair bit on eBay. Go anything between £65 to £80. My very good friend of mine who went over to Japan, he got this for me. Sold it to me for a fair good price. We're really chuffed to have this. I won't say it's as good as Gunhead, but it's definitely worth having. Next up, I'm not too sure of the name, but I've always called it Dracula Kid, or Kid Dracula, because it plays very much in similar to the one on the Famicom and the Game Boy, but the one on the Famicom and Game Boy was released by Konami, but as you can see there, it's released by those guys. But not too far off, very similar. Fun game. Next up, Psycho Chaser. Get an overhead shooter. Next up is Legend of Valkyrie. Again, this is an arcade game, ported very well to the PC Engine. And I do believe that's the last of my huge cards for the PC Engine. I do also have some US ones, which I'll quickly show you. So I'm just building up just a small collection for the Power System that I got. Just move those over. So first up is Blazing Lasers, which is basically Gunhead. I got 2 box games. One called Bravo Man. Again, another 2D, has a bit of shoot 'em up elements to it as well. Quirky Japanese style game. See that? It's really nice condition. I got that pretty cheap. This one, Pac-Land, came with the system that I got off the stick. It's John aka the stick. So there we go. There's some screenshots on the back on this one. The camera focuses in. In some nice condition. And loose cards that I have. Not too fast getting loose cards. Just building up a nice little small collection. First up is Legendary Axe. You can also get custom covers for these. So if it does bother me, I'll just go down that route. Chinese Warrior, which I do believe is Drunken Master on the Japanese version. It's got the game that has the big character sprites. Galaga 90. I guess this came out 2 years later in the US, hence why it's called Galaga 90, and the Japanese version 1988. Next up is a game that I used to own back in the day on the PC Engine Japanese version, and that's Bloody Wolf. Would like to get the Japanese version again, but it does go for about £30 to £40. Next up is Sidearms. Plain on the back. TurboGrafx 16. Got this really cheap, no more than £5. And the final game is Victory Run. Japanese version to this can be bought quite cheaply, a couple of pounds. I believe this is basically Big Run. Anyone familiar with Big Run on the arcade? I do remember playing it on the Amiga. It's basically this game. So yeah, those are my Hue cards. So what I'll do now, I'll just put these all away, and I'll show you the games that I have on CD. So I'll be right back. Okay then, welcome back. So I'm going to show you now the games that I got for the PC Engine CD. Let's plonk her out. Chilling out on his favourite couch. We've got an old couch that we put outside on the balcony, and they like chilling out there on sunny days. Anyway, on to the games. First up, actually let's bring them over here because they're a bit too far away. Okay, so first up, Bonanza Brothers. Let's see if it focuses in, there we go. Some screenshots on the back. Obviously on the Mega Drive. As you can see there, it's the PC Engine version. Again, a nice port, little sun faded there, but other than that, it's in great condition. That could be bought quite cheaply for under a tenner. Next up is Gate of Thunder. Very cool shoot 'em up. So it reminds me of the Thunder Force series. So back to glare down, you can see that. Excellent game. Between £20 to £30. Next up, Zero Wing. Excellent shoot 'em up, also on the Mega Drive. I did have the Power version, which I traded with Electric Adventures, but I did own back in the day the Japanese version for the Mega Drive. But don't know what happened to that. Must have gotten lost or sold it on. So what I did, I just went on and bought this. It's got an excellent soundtrack, so some great cutscenes in this version. I actually have the original soundtrack on CD, which is taken from the arcade version. I actually played it a couple of times in the arcade back in the day. Great game. Again, looking at £20 to £30. Next up, this was bought very cheaply. This paid what, £4, and that is Fatal Fury 2. If you like your beat 'em ups, definitely worth checking out. Considering it goes very cheaply. Next up, this game I got back in the day when I got my PC Engine, and that is Altered Beast. So it was the first game that I got for the PC Engine. But eventually I just sold it on and got the CD version, because obviously it's got a better soundtrack and some cutscenes. Do you like that art right there? Pretty cheap to get, about tenner. Next up, Strider, fantastic version of the arcade. It's got some great cutscenes, awesome soundtrack. Actually, it goes fast to say this is actually better than the Mega Drive version. I like it for it anyway. There you go. Again, you're looking at £30 to £40. A good friend of mine who went to Japan got me this, so I got it for a good price. Game that he also got in Japan, Dracula X. No PC Engine collector should be without. Does fetch a fair bit on eBay, but definitely worth it. It goes for about £60 to £70, but I have seen it go for 50. Definitely worth checking out. An awesome game. I don't know if anyone's familiar that on the PS1 it did get that compilation where it included the Sharp X68000 game and also the PC Engine version all on one disc. Excellent game. Next up is a game called Conan, Boy in the Future, which is based off the anime. This is an action platformer. As you can see there, the characters look very Studio Ghibli there. Just a screenshot there. It's a nice addition to the collection. Didn't pay much for that, a couple of pounds. It's very cheap. Next up is a one-on-one beat 'em up called VG Advance, which is basically a one-on-one beat 'em up involving anime girls. You can see the screenshot down there. And over there. Some great artwork. Paid a tenner for this, remember. Next up, again, it can be bought cheaply, and that is Popping World, which is basically Pang. As you can see there. If you like Pang, definitely worth getting that. Next up, Wings of Thunder, as well as Gates of Thunder, Wings of Thunder, and a couple others I'll show you. My friend bought them in Japan back in 2000. was a good year to buy PC Engine games because they were still going cheap. But now, looking at £30 to £40 for that. Next up, the game that he also got in Japan is fantastic. Night Dreams Cotton. I've always wanted this game on the PC Engine, and I have it. Fantastic game. I would love to own the version on the Pocket Neo Geo. That does fetch a fair bit on eBay, anything between £100 to £120. And I think it did again. Official release. It's just a Jap only. Next up, another one-on-one beat 'em up. And this one's pronounced Kabuki Itoyorodon, which is basically characters from the Far East of Eden RPG. Just bung them all into one-on-one beat 'em up. This was cheap to get hold of, under a tenner. Got the arcade cards there. Do you have one of them? I'm going to put that one. Next up is a game I used to play loads back in the day on the Mega Drive. I had the US version, and that is Valis Free. It's a great game. I love the series. Otherwise known as Phantasm Soldier. Did start off on the NEC computers in Japan, and also the MSX. But then just moved over to the PC Engine, went from number 3. Fantastic game, I do like this game. Completed it so many times. I've not completed it on the PC Engine, but completed it so many times on the Mega Drive. And follow up, number 4. That is 4. Cool cover there. More of the same. It's basically an action platformer, hack and slash. Little touches of RPG there, but it's just more hack and slash than anything else. Very cheap to get hold of, £20 at the most. Next up, shoot 'em up. You can see there by the cover, very cutie looking. And that is Eldis. It was back in 2003. Paid £25 at the time. But it can be bought cheaply these days. I've seen one going on eBay right now going for about £15. Boss level there. Really cool cutie shoot 'em up. Next up, Gradius 2 Gopher. Again, this was one of the games my friend bought from Japan, but can be bought for about £20 to £30. Fantastic shoot 'em up, definitely worth owning. See there, shoots it in the eye. Very good port off the arcade. Excellent. Of course, my favourite RPG of all time, as I've probably mentioned in a previous video, and that is Wise, or as some people call it, Ys. This is 1 and 2. I love this RPG. Played it loads back in the day on the Master System. When I heard it was going on to the, when I found out it was on the PC Engine CD, I just had to get it. It's not the original copy that I had back in the day. Got an awesome soundtrack, awesome cutscenes. It's a great game in general. Favourite RPG. Even though I didn't own the PC Engine CD back in the day. I still didn't go and get bought the game, hoping that I'd get the CD later on, because it was really expensive back then. So what I ended up doing is selling it on. But as you can see, rebought it years later. Chuffed to have that in the collection. So next up is Star Parodier, which is basically a parody to the Gunhead series and Bomberman and various characters of Hudson Soft characters. Pretty much in the same sort of style that, in sort of same way that Konami did with Nemesis and Salamander, with Parodius. As you can see there, it's an overhead shooter. Screenshots there. Some great soundtrack. Awesome cutscenes. Extension viewer there. That's the old style soldier fighter there. Great game. Again, 20 to 30 pounds. Next up, Forgotten Worlds. Really good port off the arcade. Excellent stuff. Next up is Hellfire, also on the Mega Drive. I do prefer this version. It's got some excellent soundtrack and some great cutscenes. Again, another one that I have the original soundtrack, which has tracks taken from the arcade. Excellent two-player game. Next up, Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair. Again, also on the Mega Drive. I actually do prefer this one. It's not as colourful as the Mega Drive version, but I still prefer it. I don't know why. That could be bought quite cheaply. £10–15 maybe. Next up is CD Zonk, otherwise known as Air Zonk, PC Kid's future relative. Whereas PC Kid is a 2D platformer, this is a 2D shoot 'em up, side-scrolling shoot 'em up. There's also a HuCard version of this game. I think there is a slight difference. So still looking out for that one. I'm not too sure whether I'd get the US version or the Japanese version. There you go. Great game. I think my friend got me that from Japan, and he also got me Forgotten Worlds and Star Parodier. Next up, Hopful Mail. Now I also have this on the Mega CD, the Japanese version, but the US version for this game on the Mega CD can fetch quite a fair bit on eBay. It's an action RPG, 2D side scroller. But I've played it numerous times and don't find it too difficult, even in Japanese. Great game. That's that. Next up, I'm not too sure whether this is the first one or the sequel, and it's a game called Shawaniki, which I believe translates to Big Brother or Super Big Brother. Some funky Japanese quirky style sort of game, as you can see there. Macho characters there, very camp looking. But it's a very good shoot 'em up. Got an updated version not too long ago on the PSP. But that, again, I do believe that was only released in Japan. So, worth checking out. Really quirky games and fun to play. Lots of weirdness going on. Can't keep getting out of focus. There we go. Covers a lot nicer to the one I'm going to show you now. As you can see there. Go figure. But again, as I mentioned, I'm not too sure whether this is the first or the second version. But more of the same. No screenshots on the back, just some artwork here. Focuses in. There we go. Yes, there we go. Yeah, I'm not too sure whether that was called Super Big Brother, and that's Big Brother. It's also available on the Famicom. But yeah. Next up is a game that I cannot pronounce, but I've always called it Blue Sapphire. Probably the most sought after game on the PC Engine. The original can go anything between £400 to £500. This is a reproduction copy, but beautifully done. It'd be really hard to tell this was a copy, and I mentioned this in my previous video, but I've even seen reproduction copies go for about £300. Now I've got two of these. This is my one. I've got another one packed away, which I'm trying to sell because I'm hoping to use the funds that I make from the sale to get an MSX game. But I'm certainly I'm not expecting to make £300. At least £60 to £70, at the most, just so that I can get that game. So yeah, but it's fantastic shoot. I don't even show you screenshots, did I? There we go. Fantastic overhead shoot 'em up. And it just basically. Oops. There we go. It's an awesome game. Definitely worth checking out if you can get this cheap. The reproduction copy that is, anyways. Next up is a game that's on the NES. Basically, they just ported it over to the PC Engine, and that is Rockman, Mega Man, the original Mega Man on the NES. I think it's got a couple of cutscenes and an awesome soundtrack. But other than that, it's just basically the original Mega Man on the NES. But still, a unique item to own for the PC Engine. Nice addition to the collection. Probably be well sought after later on, years to come. Now the final game. It's a game I've been wanting to get for a very long time. Got it not too long ago, and that is Space Fantasy Zone. And it's just basically Fantasy Zone turned into a sort of basically Space Harrier game. As you can see the Oopa Oopa there. Fantastic game. I've read on Wikipedia that this game was due for release but was not completed, but because of some licensing issues with Sega and NEC Avenue, so the game was never released, and of course it was never completed. And I think it was in actual was it in somewhere in 2001 that unfinished copies was cropping up on eBay. Basically, it's missing a couple stages, and the soundtrack itself wasn't sort of up to scratch, and it was sort of jerky in terms of the scrolling. But it was. I saw copies going for about £700 and at one point there was one going for £1,000. I'm sure nobody bought it, but eventually, a few years later, was it back in 2010? The game was completed, and soundtrack all sorted out and scrolling, and here we have it. Fantastic, unique item to own for the PC Engine. It's going to be well sought after in years to come. Got this for about £50. Really pleased to have this. I mean, it's not an official game, but it's been well done. So yeah, those are my I'm waffling on there. Those were my CD games. That was my PC Engine collection. Not much. I don't plan to get any more. There's still quite about 4 or 5 games I like to get back that I used to own. There's Chucky Chan, Sun 2. What was another one? It was the Adventure Island games. So yeah, other than that, pretty I've got enough as it is on the PC Engine. Pretty happy with the collection, and so there you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and until the next time, bye for now, and take care.